History's got its fair share of brutal conquerors, right? But there are a few names that just send a chill down your spine. Hulagu Khan is one of them. He was a man who absolutely reshaped the world, but he did it with a kind of savagery that still echoes nearly 800 years later. We're going to dive into the story of the man who brought an entire golden age to its knees.
Just imagine it. The year is 1258, and this wave of absolute destruction crashes over the center of the Islamic world. Baghdad. This wasn't just any city. It was a beacon of light and learning, home to the legendary House of Wisdom. And in a storm of fire and blood, it was just extinguished. This single, horrific event brought the Islamic Golden Age to a violent, bloody end.
I mean, the sheer scale of this massacre, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. Over 800,000 people slaughtered in a single week. Some estimates go way higher. They say the stench of death was so overwhelming that Hulagu himself had to move his entire camp upwind. So you have to ask, right? Who was the man behind this level of carnage, and what on earth drove him to do it?
Well, to even begin to understand a figure like this, you've got to look at where he came from, an empire literally forged in conquest. He was the grandson of the one and only Genghis Khan, and believe it or not, in some ways, he would prove to be even more ruthless. So Hulagu wasn't just some nobody. He was born right into the very heart of Mongol power. His grandfather, of course, was the legendary Genghis Khan. His father was Tolu, a seriously powerful general, and his mother, Sorgagtani Beki, was this incredibly influential princess who raised her sons to be rulers. For a guy like Hulagu, conquest wasn't just a career path, it was his birthright, his destiny. So in 1251, Hulagu's brother, who was now the great Khan Möngke, gave him an absolutely monumental task: lead the largest Mongol army ever put together and bring the powerful Muslim states of the Middle East to their knees. And the orders from his brother? They were brutally simple. Make them submit, and if they don't, wipe them off the map. And let me tell you, Hulagu took this mission and ran with it. He embraced it with this terrifying kind of enthusiasm. His march through Persia and straight into the heart of the Islamic world was a masterclass in psychological terror and just pure overwhelming force. His campaign was just this relentless, methodical march of destruction. First up, he shattered the legendary fortress of Alamet, home of the feared Order of Assassins. This sent a crystal-clear message to everyone: nobody is safe. Then, he turned his army toward the ultimate prize, Baghdad, and its ruler, the Caliph al-Mustaqsim. He offered a simple choice: bow down or be annihilated. And this is what's so incredible. We have his actual words, a chilling, personal promise of exactly what was coming. Now, the Caliph, he was overconfident. He thought his city was untouchable, and he basically laughed off the Mongol threat. Talk about a fatal miscalculation. The Caliph had absolutely no idea what he was about to bring down on his own city. So on February 12th, 1258, after a siege that lasted less than 2 weeks, the unthinkable happened. Baghdad fell. And for 7 straight days, it was hell on earth. The city was systematically taken apart. Its incredible libraries, especially the famed House of Wisdom, a place that held centuries of knowledge in math, medicine, astronomy, philosophy, were all torched. All of it just gone. The wisdom of an entire civilization literally turned to ash. And the Caliph's end, well, it wasn't just a simple execution. It was a statement. See, the Mongols had this taboo about spilling royal blood directly onto the earth. So after forcing the Caliph to watch his people being slaughtered and his city burning, Hulagu had him wrapped up tightly in a carpet and then trampled to death by horses. It was a final, brutal act of humiliation designed to erase not just the man, but the very symbol of his 500-year-old dynasty from the face of the earth. Okay, so after Baghdad, you'd think Hulagu was completely unstoppable, right? The terror of his name was spreading like wildfire. But even the mightiest empires have their limits, and a major turning point was just around the corner.
So Hulagu just keeps pushing. He rolls into Syria, taking Aleppo and Damascus with the same brutal efficiency. His next target was Cairo, the heart of the Mamluk Sultanate in Egypt. But then, in 1259, fate throws a wrench in the works. News arrives that the great Khan, Möngke, is dead back home. This plunged the whole Mongol Empire into a succession crisis, and Hulagu had to turn back east, leaving a smaller army behind under his top general, Kibuka.
And this leads us to the Battle of Ain Jalut, which is, honestly, a massive turning point in world history.
With Hulagu Khan, the Mamluks of Egypt saw their chance and met the Mongol army head-on. And, for the very first time, a Mongol army was decisively beaten in a straight-up fight. This incredible victory didn't just save North Africa from the fate of Baghdad, it slammed the brakes on the Mongol Empire's westward expansion. It was their high watermark.
So ironically, Hulagu's biggest threat wasn't some foreign army anymore. Nope, it was coming from inside his own family. His cousin, Berke Khan, who ruled the Golden Horde, had converted to Islam. He was absolutely enraged by the Sack of Baghdad and the murder of the Caliph, so he allied himself with the Mamelukes and declared war on Hulagu. This wasn't just a family squabble. It was the first real Mongol civil war, and it shattered that dream of one unified empire forever.
So, how do we even begin to make sense of a guy like this? His legacy is just this massive, brutal contradiction. He was a man of almost unimaginable cruelty, but he was also a figure of huge historical importance.
And this, right here, is the central paradox of Hulagu's entire story. I mean, on one hand, you have this absolute force of nature who basically decapitated an entire civilization. But then, on the other hand, in the very lands he just tore apart, he establishes the Ilkhanate, a dynasty that would rule for generations, creating this whole new Persian-Mongol culture. He encouraged trade, and in a wild twist, he became a great patron of science, even funding a state-of-the-art observatory. So if you're going to remember anything about Hulagu Khan, these 5 points really nail it. He was the heir to a conquering legacy, the destroyer who orchestrated one of history's worst atrocities, the conqueror who finally met his limit, the founder of a new dynasty, and the ultimate paradox, a brutal warrior who also supported science and culture. That's his complex, bloody legacy.
In the end, Hulagu Khan is just this haunting figure. He's a testament to humanity's terrifying capacity for both creation and destruction. And his story, it really forces us to wrestle with a pretty tough question. How should we remember a man who builds a nation on a literal mountain of skulls? It proves that history is almost never a simple story of good versus evil.